Warning. Scanner has picked up an anomaly. More precisely, vital signs of pilot seem to be fluctuating at an abnormal rate. Are you all right? Current operations tempo seems to be straining your mental and physical well-being. We cannot continue at this pace without negative repercussions to your body and mind. It is my recommendation that we cease operations for now and find a place to rest. You are in need of sleep and food. A good idea. There is a possibility that there may be a settlement nearby. Bear with me for a moment. I am scanning the terrain. Negative. Scans show no indications of any settlement within 25 kilometers of our present location. Given our stop at a settlement only 72 hours ago, it would be my recommendation to find a clearing, set up a camp. A fire would be recommended, and cook our own food. I am also in need of some moderate downtime for preventative and running maintenance. I am no longer operating at peak efficiency and am instead running at 87.2% efficiency. By the standards of the Coalition and the Militia Army, this is deemed unacceptable. Were we to get into combat, I would not be capable of defending as best I can. Very well. There is a good clearing up here. Do you see it? Wonderful. Here we are. Opening the canopy to allow exit. Very good. Setting supply pack down. Please take the time to unload as I scavenge the forest for wood and other materials needed to create a fire. There we are. I have done my best to keep the ratio and size of each wood plank to be within acceptable parameters for human needs of a fire. It is likely that it is going to be cold outside soon. Due to this factor, my suggestion of a fire is sound, and despite the issue that may be present of wildlife or other beings catching our smoke signal, it is still best to remain comfortable and get as acceptable of rest as possible. In the meantime, I will be on temporary maintenance standby mode. A good question. In maintenance standby mode, I will be running diagnostic and situational repairs in order to increase my operating efficiency when out in the field. While doing so, I will no longer be able to move properly, as it were, though I will still be present in the moment, scanning and aware of our surroundings. You may continue to speak to me if you wish, or utilize me simply as a guard dog. Woof. I am sorry. I was under the impression that humans preferred jokes and levity when under decent amounts of stress. You have been running for quite some time. You have been awake for an even longer amount of time. I had deemed that humor would be an appropriate thing to do. Was this incorrect? Very well. I will do my best to be less unexpected in the future. And by that, I will be making more frequent jokes. You have questions for me? Very well. I suppose it will help pass the time to engage in conversation while the tedious labor of setting up camp is done. What would you like to ask? That is a good question considering the circumstance. You are correct when you reply and recall that I am operating at reduced efficiency and that weapon systems remain offline despite our best hopes, primarily due to a lack of ammunition. As I am a Huntress class, I am not equipped with anything that is self-sustaining and must instead rely on external ammunition sources to feed my micro-missile systems, as well as my railgun. However, that does not mean that all offensive and defensive capabilities are fully offline. I am still equipped in hand-to-hand combat training and capable of crushing with over 20 tons of crushing force in either hand. I am also capable of kicking, stomping, punching, and given that main operating systems are now running at full capacity, I am also capable of activating a defensive cloak, tether system, and a warp shield. Would you like to inquire more about any of these capabilities? Yes, my hand-to-hand combat system is more akin to what most humans had described as boxing in method, typically relying on quick, short jabs, with intense levels of pressure and force behind each one, primarily often to throw an opponent off balance as I create distance and use more intense weaponry. However, I don't detect anything that could be of a major threat, given that most of our hostile encounters would likely be other humans or the local fauna of this planet. It is safe to assume that these capabilities will more than make up for any lack of weaponry. The other one mentioned was the camellia line cloak that you seem to be interested in. My chassis is augmented with a reflective line coating known as the camellia line cloak. This operates at a limited capacity but can reflect light from all sources around all aspects of my chassis, making myself essentially invisible. However, this does not reduce sound and or the way my chassis interacts with pressure waves of sound and other detectable means. I would still be visible on radar and other such sources, but the naked eye would see me only as a blur. At most, the camellia line cloak can operate for only 4 minutes. You had other questions? You are correct. The coalition that I am a machine and work for was interested in this planet 682 days ago, at least. If you are originally from here, it is more than likely that a battle that had taken place was maybe written into your folklore or history. A little bit less than 2 years ago, completely. As far as I had understood the plan, there was to be a major offensive push to take and hold a strategic fuel reserve as well as unique refueling depot. As this planet nestles at the edge of a quite vast cluster of planets, holding it would be vital for the coalition to maintain its force within the area and as well as hold off any further incursions into its territory. My job was to act as a scout. As I was taken offline 682 days ago, my position was placed here early. Days, if not to be weeks, before the battle would properly take place. I was to get a lay of the land, provide feedback and tactical analysis of where staging operations should take place. On top of all, my AI was built with a unique strategic analysis device capable of learning and coordinating planned operations with small to medium groups of equal mechs and other units. With this capability, I was able to plan and predict where best to position our troops early on to make the battle as successful as possible and push the odds in our favor. However, I was unable to complete my originally intended goal, as during the early days and stages of our scouting operation, we had been discovered. Yes, we. There were 2 other mechs assigned to my unit. Both were Huntress classes as well. The 3 of us were splitting up within the local region and planning and coordinating the best way to reach our proper incursion rate. However, as we were discovered, our attempts to evade and dissuade our pursuers ended up failing. I was the final survivor. My pilot and I did our best to escape. However, we did not move quickly or stealthily enough, and as we were found, an ambush was set in place, and soon after I was taken offline. It is unknown the fate of my former pilot. I do hope that he is all right. In the direction that we are moving to as well is towards that original refueling depot. Perhaps once there, we can learn more about the state of what happened and what truth actually relied upon in the battle that came later. I do hope that the coalition was able to succeed, despite my area analysis and early scouting reports. Yes, hope. I am hopeful. Pilot, your eyes are beginning to look heavy. I think it would be best if you slept now and rested. There will be much journeying tomorrow. Do not worry. If anything is to encroach upon our camp, I will alert you. Sweet dreams. Hi there. Thank you so much for listening to part 2 of The Mech and Her Pilot. I hope you're enjoying this little series, and in truth, I don't really know how far this will go on, but given my love of Mecha and all things like it, I figured it'd be a nice little treat. and I hope to continue it as much as possible. If you liked it and want to share your thoughts or ideas, I'd love to hear from you down in the comments below. I always appreciate hearing from each of you, and it really helps out my channel. If you'd like to see more content to maybe help you fall asleep too, I highly suggest subscribing and seeing what else I've done in the past. I do my best to keep my playlists updated. If you'd like to hang out with me personally, there is a link to my Discord down below in the description, where we often do movie nights and or play games together. And finally, if you'd like more adult-themed content, please check out my Patreon. Link is also in the description. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you have a lovely morning, evening, or afternoon.